three, let's go!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Adjacent with Jace, the tabletop interview and review show for the Adventures in Athoria, brought to you by the Black Tower Stories. I am your host Jace, and with me today, he's all about the details except when it's his fails. He's cracking jokes all while he wails, and I sit back drinking cocktails. He gave us all free reign, but he wished we'd all refrain from leaving the battlefield play, and abandoning combat again is a concept of play that he finds lame. He blames us for not wanting to fight, so he comes at us in the middle of the night with the baddies using all their might. We try to sneak away out of sight, but we love this guy as he's great at the story, so sit tight tonight as we get back to more glory. Hi, Eric.
Hi, and I will note that I have not done too much attacking you at night this campaign.
Not too
but
much.
You're right. I should get back to that. But you guys hated it so much last campaign, so I was just trying to be nicer. But I guess that's what I get for being nicer.
We hated it so much last campaign that we played characters that didn't need to wear armor, and then you stopped attacking us.
Yes. Only now you guys have like Hobbit syndrome and refuse to be adventurers, so I guess I'm gonna have to to burn the Shire.
Oh no.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to do the scouring of the Shire.
None of us live here. You're burning someone else's house down. Welcome,
Well,
though. Welcome, Eric. Welcome back, everyone, to the return of Adjacent with Jace. It's been a while. Uh,
it has been. It
yeah,
has been.
our new
It's been a while
schedule.
since I've been on the show too.
That's because it's been a while since we've done this. You were last time it was Ari. The time before that was you. So in the
Oh, I guess
turn
that's
order,
true.
it hasn't been that long. It's just been like a month and a half. Because we had the series where we
Yeah.
just didn't do that because we had a Jace with we had a Fest where we did a Jason with
hmm
Jace there, which was not a Jason with Jace. It was just me having a talk show,
Yeah. But we
seminar.
got lots of questions, which was great, and I certainly appreciate that for everyone who came out.
Got to throw shade at Bevo, always fun.
Yeah, why did we let him show up anyway? Like he's not even part of the campaign
Look,
anymore.
we accept that he's part of the campaign. You're the one who, the second someone's character leaves for one session, removes them from Discord and all of their rights. He's posted things in the general because he can't comment. That's on you. You're trying to lock
Yeah.
him out of the room if you got the opportunity. It wasn't even your
No,
room.
you're absolutely right. For those people who are not privy to the Discord stuff, like it's savage. Like the moment someone leaves, they get demoted on the
Spectator it
Discord.
is. Like, what? They
And
need to be able to
it's
post
like,
here.
what? What? Like, no, you are now out. You are not. You have you. You're free to see what we're doing, but you are not part of this. And I am the gatekeeper. I guess also you now too, though, because you have admin rights for the Discord.
Very important. And I'm just too lazy to do anything with it. But we're back. Our new schedule for Adjacent with Jace. If I ever remember how to change our schedule on these things, because I completely forgot how to change the iSocials and stuff. Otherwise, would have done that a long time ago.
Yeah, that's something that our moderators have always done the best about. You know, like the truth is, we should.
I told Momo how to do that, and then I forgot. So it's all on Momo now.
I thought about that the other day. I was like, we might be more popular if we bothered to let people know that we were playing.
Nah, f that.
So I don't know.
This is all just so I can record and look back at the stupidity we do.
Yeah, not gonna lie, it is a little disheartening to have lived in eternity. Me accidentally critting my own monster and then realizing it way too late.
Like, you did that to yourself. Haha.
Like,
Well,
oh shit.
for everyone who's joining, our new Adjacent with Jace schedule is the first and last Thursday of every month. So you'll have 2 weeks in a row and then 2 weeks off, sometimes 3 weeks off, depending on how big the month is. Except for February, that month's short.
Yeah, is there a reason? Yeah, let me cue for producer. Is there a reason you're doing 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off instead of just like every other week?
Because first and last Thursday sounded better in my head. So there's a potential.
So not a legitimate reason, just an arbitrary one.
Yeah. Because then it just seems cool. There's a potential for a third week of not having to do the show. I'm lightening my own load, Eric. Sometimes I get busy.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess the note there is this is the current plan, and that might be changed at any time.
Comment from Rab. It's also easier to advertise first and last week, rather than every other week, because then you're like, well, which week was it? What if they do an extra one? I'm like, well, first and last. That's how we do it.
Oh God, why does Rab have to be
You can look at a
intelligent?
calendar and see which weeks it is, and you don't have to worry about off and on weeks.
Yeah, but then it's just like, why didn't you just do it like once a month?
Love
And
you,
just say
Tater.
the last Thursday of the month.
Because I wanted the first and last.
You know what? It's your show, so.
That's right. My name is on the neon light up there. That way.
Or,
It's above
there.
you. Just point up.
Yeah, it's up a little bit.
Don't hate me. Hate the scheduler within me. That's right. We love coordinating stuff. That's our jobs. Today's special, which Eric can't read because now we're using Discord, not Zoom. Because Zoom.
Poison.
Poison. The poison to kill Shugo. The Shugo's poison.
Yeah, it's like I was having to get closer because it is a tiny box on my screen.
Oh yeah. I'll eventually figure that part out. But as a reference to our one shot we ran last last lovely session, which was interrupted by Zoom's horribleness. We won't be using that shit anymore.
Let me just full screen you.
Ah,
Give you all of my attention.
oh boy.
Except for the other part where I'm over here on Amazon.
Package has been delivered. Well, we have some questions already coming in. I've got some questions. A lot of stuff has happened since it's been so long. But I would like to throw back to a question we had last time you were on. Was brought to you by, I believe, Momo. Question for Eric. Given the chances of a TPK in this party, do you have any plans if you do end up TPKing the party? Do you have a backup plan for bringing others in?
Backup plans. My backup plan is to just tell the players to have backup characters.
Preferably ones that went to adventure. Not like this shitty group.
Yes. I mean, but I suppose there is always the idea that you guys could start up with a whole new adventuring crew at some point, like several months later, and then maybe do something different. I guess the question there would be, would I bring you guys back at the same level, or would I make you guys redo this shit from one? But I think you guys will be like, not really interested in starting over. So I don't know. I guess that's up to you guys. If you guys want to still play in this sandbox, that's fine. We'll figure it out. If you guys don't and want to swap over to some other place for a completely whole other campaign, you know?
So what you're saying is, if it's TPK, we're screwed.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to throw in a Deus Ex Machina, if that's what you mean.
Nah.
But...
Wow. So just don't get TPK. I got you. On to the other question that was from the last time you were out here, so this we get the dust off this question. It's a bit old. Which player character that has shown up in the game do you think has the most detailed information / backstory?
Detailed information / backstory. That would have to be... and I'm going to put an asterisk with this. I'm going to say Caleb, because we've actually done a lot of his backstory. Technically, the most backstory is Izal.
That's right.
But that's because she's got like a whole lineage thing. But that's technically cheating. I'll just say, if we talk about like only Izal's literal backstory, and just Izal only,
Like ankle
and
deep
we
of backstory.
don't. Yes, but the difference is that's not Izal's backstory. That's the backstory of Izal's clan. So, as far as Izal, we don't really know much of anything about Izal. You know, the sad truth is, for a character that is traveling around, wanting to distinguish herself as separate from her clan, everything we know about Izal has to do with her clan.
That's right. It's real hard to
We know
separate yourself.
practically nothing about Izal herself.
It's a bit of a catch-22 with her, because clan is a dichotomy of traditional dwarven things, which she's not for, and the rogues aspect of the Zella, which is also something she's trying to cull and not have a major aspect. She's really trying to do her own thing, but she can't get away because it's her literal past. So,
yeah, well, the crazy thing is, like, Axel, although a dwarven deity, is not a popular deity among the dwarves because he is so
he's not
undwarven.
He's not traditional.
Yes, he does not care. Yeah, like the quintessential dwarf, well-groomed, discerning, I mean, sure, I guess unyielding-ish. Um, but yes, Axel has like none of the. He's a stereotypical dwarf. He's like a dwarf barbarian type guy, even though he took like no levels in barbarian.
He's a fighter cleric.
Yeah, so mostly, as we explain in lore, Axel is a lesser deity worshipped by dwarves who seek adventure and combat and choose to cast aside traditional dwarven norms. And that's one of the reasons why the dwarves don't like him. Because he's
Very
kind of like the.
anti-dwarf.
Yeah, he's like the devil on your shoulder. You know, I'm not going to call him like the Satan, but he is. He's the guy that strays dwarves from the traditional dwarven path.
Yeah. And so, being Izal, like, don't really have, like, you can't go family tradition, but you're also not a huge dwarven-based tradition, so you're kind of like, ah, fuck.
Yeah, you know what would be funny, Alex? Just so that way, like for your next dwarf character, if you really want to give Axel a middle finger, you got to pick a dwarf that is all about old school dwarf traditions.
I had one. Axel's son, Yellick, was a devout follower of Moradin.
Yeah, okay.
like,
But I mean, like, well, okay, that's different though,
that was a
because
long
he
time
grew
ago.
up with Axel. He grew up with Axel. And that
Bold
was
of
not
you
a character.
to assume that Axel was ever there for his children.
No. But what I mean is, like, he knew Axel the dwarf as a person and was like, no, why would I worship that?
That's the other thing, is that a lot of dwarves, even the zealots, don't really follow the religion that is him. It's kind of a black
That is
guy.
true.
Like,
Like
traditional
Kelder
dwarves.
didn't.
No, traditional dwarves.
Kelder went out there and worshipped an elven deity.
Yeah, it's like not a big, because Kelder was also not a traditional dwarf in the same, just more of a rogue sense, but also didn't want to follow like Axel at all. It's like, let's keep religious, but your idea is wrong. And so every character I make is just trying to not be Axel while still being a zealot, which is contradicting itself.
Yeah.
But like, he's all very shallow. There's not a lot there. Cause like, she's only like 30 something years old. She's really fucking young. So there's not a lot to her. She's in her rebellious teen years right now.
Yeah, even though she's not very rebellious. She's more like the responsible older sister that still likes to have fun on the weekends, but ultimately does care about her little siblings and wants to make sure they're okay.
Reality, she's the youngest sibling who got everything kind of that she wanted handed to her, but still wanted to be the rebel, but was also a nice person. It's like, I'm gonna go out and see screw this. I was like, okay, let's not feel anything. All right, guys, bye.
Like, yeah, you can't even do the teenage rebellion right.
I was just too nice. Okay, we have questions that have come in from today. Caleb has the most.
Oh, that's right. We are definitely here to answer questions.
Question for
Oh,
Eric.
I'm told. I don't exactly remember how to do it.
In last session, the party visited the Darling Rogue, an establishment that was said to have strippers. Can you please give me more details on these strippers?
Well, there are. I mean, there are strippers there at times, and you can pay them to take their clothes off. I mean,
Excellent.
Some are elvish, some are human. I mean, yeah. Who asked that? That was either okay. I was like, that was either Rab or Momo.
All the good questions come from Rab. We already know this.
Oh, that's true. He is like our biggest fan. I'm so happy he got to have fun on the one shot.
He's very effective too. Another question for Eric: had Volred stayed and fought the owner of the shop he broke into, What is the likelihood that would have gotten his ass whooped?
Uh, OOC near zero.
Shopkeepers are weak as shit. That
No,
shopkeeper
she.
died.
I mean, shopkeeper is a commoner. She weak. Volred probably, if he attacked her, would have done enough damage to kill her outright. But then she would have been a murderer. Then he would have been a murderer.
Wow,
Um,
Eric,
and he would have been
I got news
upset
for you.
because, well, yes, I know he's an assassin, but the only thing he's really assassinated is animals. He's more like a ranger than an assassin.
Just here to
And
take care of that overpopulation of wildlife.
but I guess the biggest issue there is he probably would have been upset because like she's pretty fine looking.
Dang, it was dark, far away. She dropped down from that
Yeah.
top area pretty elegantly, though. That would have been very nice.
Well, I mean, she's an elf, you know.
It's racist, Eric. You can't just assume these things. She's an
I mean,
artsy fartsy elf.
elves have a love of all things beauty.
On to the one shot we ran last Tuesday. Well, overall,
I ran it.
we ran it together into the ground.
Yeah.
Out of all the characters that you saw, which one did you think looked like it was most prepared for that situation that we went into?
Rick.
Hey, I got a win! Yay! I never get a win.
Yeah, and I mean, you're a ranger. Like, anytime you have to search for something out in the woods, it's kind of hard to beat a ranger. Druid can come close, but it's kind of hard to beat a ranger. And and it sucks because it's like, oh, great, yeah, speak with animals. That is fastly becoming my new least favorite spell.
We had a throwback to the grease spell again in the combat. It was like, oh, look how this effective bastard showed back up.
Yeah. But I mean, it landed this time, so that's good.
Yeah. Usually we just use it against zombies, though. With the emergence of Volred's deadly ability as a fighter, are you concerned that his next character is going to be a fighter and you'll have to power creep the entire encounter?
You mean, Rab?
Rab's character, not Volred's character.
And the
Volred
worst thing is, for those of you who didn't watch it, he didn't even spec his fighter appropriately.
Nope.
Because he didn't know what stats he needed to put his numbers in.
None of my characters were statted correctly. Mine sure as hell wasn't. I had strength in my shit.
Yeah. But yeah, he did. It was stupid how well he did. Am I worried that he's going to play a fighter? No. I mean, if he legitimately enjoyed it and he's like, cool, I'm just and he wants to play that and that's fun for him, cool. But yeah, I mean, maybe we'll crank up the danger level on the encounters a little bit.
Always
but
good seeing that type of a fighter come out of there. Fighters are very effective. So
yeah,
he critted on a lot
and
of 20s though. He didn't crit on any 19s. So there wasn't really a point in the whole.
The champion,
fighter.
yeah, but over the course of the campaign, I got a feeling he'd probably use it. Like if he really got into it and was like he's really gonna build that fighter correctly, like if he does so for the next character, then that's good. You know what? Honestly, it was more important to me that he have fun, and I think he had a lot of fun, and which is good because he doesn't necessarily. For those who are to wear, he does not have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons experience.
You've all seen
so
it. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So it's good that he got to try something different and ended up enjoying it.
Fair. Out of all of the party members that were in the one shot, who would you most want to see as a character in your current actual campaign?
Like, which character would I like to bring over?
Yeah, whether played by their actual character or you have to NPC them.
Hmm. That's a really good question.
Because you have to pick one. You
Don't
can't
kn-
say none of them.
I know I would not particularly like to see anyone, but I do think I would like to see Rab's character the most.
That rap, we're just paving the way for you. Next time he kills you, we know exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's because, like, also, like the whole Kronk Yzma thing, that is not something that I would remotely be like, oh yeah, that's cool. You guys can do that in the campaign. No, that's a
I wouldn't
one
want to
shot
play
thing.
that in a camp. I'll play it in like a series of one shots for a joke. I don't like playing joke characters that are their whole stick.
Yeah,
I've got one
and
thing going for me. Like,
and unfortunately, Aaron was basically useless.
he's a bird sorcerer.
An Arakakra sorcerer who didn't land really anything. I feel bad for him.
I
He
don't.
had a really off night.
I don't. He usually gets
But
fighters. I don't feel bad for him at all.
but also the idea of having a character that has fly at level 1 cheap, and I don't like it.
I don't see why. Just shoot him. Improvise a rock. Knock the dude down. I target people in the air.
Yeah.
You gotta target more specific things. That's what you gotta do. Although you should target threats. He wasn't really a threat.
Yeah.
Yzma was
Yeah,
a threat.
I was going to pick Chakot just because I was like, he's the one that would probably be the least helpful. Uh, but then I was like, but knowing that, like, I'd bring him over and then he would start doing really well. And then the fact that he's got magic and flying would really piss me off. So the sad truth is it's like Reese is actually the safe bet.
I'm upset. It took me 3+ hours into the session to realize that his name was a pun of Reese Witherspoon.
I didn't know at all until you said something.
Like,
And then I was like, I thought that's a very interesting name, but for all I know, he randomly generated that.
like Weatherford.
You know?
It's like because
Flourished
Reese,
for.
and then I heard the name again. And you son of a bitch! It's hilarious. I love it. I hate that it took me this long to figure it out. Rav in the comments like, already got the name immediately. It's like, yeah, it was a good name.
Yeah.
Although, if you did bring Aaron's character, the bird person, in, he would be similar to, what was it? Gander, where he's not great a lot of times, but when he is great, it's just really devastating to the fight because everything's hitting.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just think Reese would be more fun to watch.
Eh, he's that edgy emo character, but he's a fighter. All right. Since we've last been on, we had a bit of an issue with the party. For one, there's only 3 members right now. Are we any closer to getting a 4th party member?
Yes, very close.
Yay! Where? Tell us where to go, Eric. We want to know right now.
Well, if you go to the place at the time, they'll be waiting there for you.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well played. All right. Well,
But yes, I know it kind of sucks because at the same time, it's like I hate just being like, oh hey, now you just meet this person. You know, like I like a character's first introduction to say some to be a statement about that character. Um, so while yes, technically I could shoehorn any of them in anywhere, I like them to be places that it makes sense for them to be. And I know of the players who are going to be playing, I have already had conversations with all of them about like where they want to enter. They gave me ideas about what they thought worked best, and so it'll just be when that happens.
of the players that are potentially coming back in certain orders, do they know of the characters that the other new players are playing in any
Nope,
way? They don't.
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So we just could have a bunch of people come in and then just drastically change the whole
All
thing.
paladins,
If I could,
all paladins, all of them.
I didn't know you were gonna be a paladin. I told you I was gonna play a paladin. It's like I didn't believe you. You don't play
Yeah.
melee characters. That's about it for our catch up. Although we're just currently like a mystery of what we're doing, trying to investigate shit and not get arrested. Is there anything else,
Yeah.
Eric, that we should catch up on from the previous sessions?
Um, other than yeah, I guess. Did you have any other thoughts on what you guys should change your name to? Since it was alluded that your name might be why you guys get shit jobs.
I am okay with keeping the acronym S&M for old timey sake, but we should probably change what those letters mean.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
I have posted many things that are in the chat of what letters could mean, so I think we should.
Yeah. Well, you guys need to definitely change that before Ari rejoins the group, because then because Ari's character, no matter what, is gonna have an opinion.
Just change it to insert name here.
You know, you should probably even
H.
go so far as to just go and change it yourself and not ask the rest of the party.
Bold of you to
Because
assume it hasn't been discussed
I mean, honestly,
yet.
what's Calum's response going to be?
I don't care.
Oh,
Read the book.
okay. And then, you know, like, what's Volred's response going to be? You should have discussed it with Miss.
I'll ask for forgiveness then.
So
So I have.
then he might stab you in the back.
There.
Just buy him a cognac and get him a little Azurleaf, and it'll be good.
Salty nest man. Like,
No, you know what? That right there is part of the reason why I'm saying you should just handle it.
I find we'll think of some.
You
cool
are the
name.
official, unofficial leader of this party. You should just handle it.
Never
Remember that
mind.
conversation we had earlier about you being the, teenage sister and everyone else just being like your younger siblings? It's time for you to be the adult in the situation. It's all.
This is gonna
I mean, you're older than everyone but Volred.
happen. Sucking numerous men.
No!
These are all options. They'll never make it off the ground floor though. On to more topics since the last time we had gotten on here. The release in the news of the upcoming update in 2024. 1D&D is coming up. There's some things on there. Oh, this is the most childish. Yeah. There are several rules that have been kind of explained and gone over, and there's essentially new ways of picking races. There's no rules on classes yet, which I'm still waiting for, because that'd be cool to see. Out of everything that got released in one D&D's playtest material, what is the thing you like the most and the thing you hate the most?
Backgrounds, as far as I like the most. Um, I have always believed that more of your character should be based on background, and in my opinion, even culture. Now, granted, that means they have to be tied to campaign settings, uh, because an elf that grows up in human lands is different than an elf that grows up in elven lands, even if they grew up both as artisans. Like that has an impact on them. Um, I also do like that most of those backgrounds come with a starting feat. I was very surprised to see Acolyte, start with the Magic Initiate feat. So it's like if you are an Acolyte as your backstory, you will start the game with spells, regardless. Which I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Like I think changes like that are cool. I like the idea that criminal and guard both have alert,
And then they
because it's
changed
like,
alert.
yeah, they changed alert, which it's really good. But yeah, I like the idea that a criminal is constantly being alert for signs of guards, and so there's some benefit there. So it's like, okay. I found it very funny though that they were talking about limiting the amount of languages a character speaks, and then nope, because you basically get the language that's part of your race, then you get the language for your background, and then you get a third language that you get to pick. And I'm kind of, I'm just like, I think too many characters speak too many languages.
Yeah, especially with common as a main source, like,
And second common.
which is Elvish.
Mm-hmm.
I think
So,
two. You should be common and like one other, and then on a rare occasion more.
I don't know. I would even go so far as to say,
Intelligence based.
no, I wouldn't go that far back. I would just say uh, a percentage of characters only have one language, and that's the language that they had going into it. Or you say, like, look, everyone gets common, or in most cases, they will probably get common. You might get a language depending on your race, and then that's it. Unless you have, there are other reasons why you would have a particular language or not. Because I don't like guards. For some reason, it's just assumed that every blacksmith that works every, guard or castle everywhere is a dwarf, and so everyone who ever uses a weapon forged by that smith somehow knows how to speak dwarvish. Like that is a stretch for me. I can think and like the idea that all farmers for some reason know halfling. You like or gnomish, and like all artisans like speak other. It's like none of that makes sense to me. None of that makes sense to me. So it's like, okay, that's a little ridiculous.
Also goes into the characters picking their languages. Why are they picking them? Are they picking them because they think they'll be most useful, or are they picking them because they make most sense with their character?
Right. And that probably touches off on my least favorite change for the new edition, and that is the democratization of spells
I
into
like
just
that
three
though.
pools. I hate it,
What
but
if they added a fourth one that was like an amalgamation of different ones, where it's like weird spell casting?
no. Because here's my thing. Like, I'm not gonna make any bones about this because, like, you know how I feel. Like, I feel that like 70% of the spells a cleric can cast should come from their domain. So to my mind, I don't see if there is such a thing as a generic cleric spell list. That's like you can count on your hands the number of spells that would include, you know, and like revivify would not be one. Like I don't think, with the exception of like a life cleric or a grave cleric, I don't know, maybe a death cleric, like revivify is only available for those three. I don't know, maybe you can argue nature cleric. I don't know. But the point is I want clerics. I want the spells that a cleric uses to feel like they are from, like they are given from a god that has a particular set of domains. You know, a particular portfolio. And I like my wizards, if they're going to specialize, I like them to use spells of the specific class, the arcane tradition that they're a part of. Downside, that's not generally possible because some disciplines, such as like divination, can go 2 or 3 levels without getting a spell, added, which sucks. But also, and maybe this is just too old school D&D of me, there is a fundamental difference between sorcery and wizardry. While they might often create effects that to the layman will appear similar, the underlying fundamental mechanics of those magics are different. So I don't really like that because I feel like we should be getting more compartmental spell lists so that every single character, every class feels different from another. Really is as unique as much as we can manage to do so.
With that being said, we don't know what classes change is going to happen because we know they've already leaned towards getting rid of the short rest mechanic by making things proficiency based. So
which I'm very interested to see how warlocks are going to figure that out. Because that's like
and fighters are going to get real fucked over, or get really
maybe
powerful.
Yeah,
get
because that was one of the biggest things about the warlock is you're highly specialized, and you get your stuff back on a short rest, and that's one of the reasons why I liked the warlock. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
They might not even change that. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, with the new classes, they might make stipulations on, say, wizards. You take spells from this spell list with and then implement new limitations based off of the class, and not so much. They make the giant pool of spells that are based around those things, and then limiting them in the class section, and not so much the grand spell section.
Yeah, but that's also true. Like, honestly, who knows? For all we know, they could release the class shit, and like prestige classes are a part of that. Or because they did say a long time ago that they were toying with it. Now I don't know that they'll do anything with it, but yeah, it's just I like it when a person's subclass makes a difference, and unfortunately for like wizards, I feel their subclass doesn't make that much of a difference because they have access to really everything, and so they're all more or less samey because you'll generally only get 3 things throughout the time you level, and for the wizards, like your first thing is like the same for all of them. And so it's like, this is a change that, I mean, granted, it doesn't really impact wizards, really, but I mean, in my mind, it's one of the downsides of the wizards, and then you're just taking that, what I consider to be a negative of the way the wizard is set up, and just kind of rolling that negative out to other classes. And I don't like it.
What if they bring back the D4 hit die?
Oh, I don't know that any. Hey, look, I don't think that's gonna happen because they're all like tough is already boosted. So No, I thought it was only 1 hit point per
Oh, it's
level
still two.
originally.
It's two.
Oh,
That's what it was. Tough is tough. It's just a level one. The other thing on my favorite thing for me that happened is the inclusion of
yeah,
leveling your feats and letting everyone get a feat with their background.
yeah,
Because one of our issues with certain feats were like sharpshooter, great weapon master, polearm master is that you're a level one character. You are not a master of anything. That
right.
aspect of a feat should not exist. So by making those later levels and then tweaking them to where they could possibly be broken down into other feats later because they don't have a full list of every feat yet, makes it better. Like tough as a level one feat, and you can get it. You can make your level one character more rotund and tanky based off of his hit points now. Like if Izal had tough at the very beginning, her hit points would have been 18 at level one.
Yeah. Although, I mean, that's another thing too. Like the races were generalized as well. So now all dwarves
That's right.
have bonus to hit points.
And stone cunning does something now.
That's true. Yeah. I'm curious because like tremor sense is going to be an interesting thing to have. It's still going to be relatively situational, but and
I mean,
I
you
can
got to be
imagine.
on stone. So like basically, if you're in a mountain, you're good. Anywhere
Well,
else,
you just have to
very
be able to
situational.
touch stone. So like even if you're in a dungeon,
I think it's
if
solid.
you're able to touch walls,
Oh yeah, I guess that. I would DM that. It's like whatever the DM would say for it. It was like
yeah.
all these
But I
stones
mean,
are
like,
individual. So now,
well, I don't know. Yeah, I think of
look, the
that.
fact that every dwarf now gets the +1 hit point is that's my favorite part about the hill dwarf. That's why I'm always picking hill dwarfs because I think that's neat. Like
Yeah,
a little bit tankier. It's all always important.
yeah, and I can see that because like I have my own, more Dune dwarf, but ultimately, so much of that just comes down to culture that it's like, you know,
Like I thought it was
it's
neat.
fun.
I just think that 1 hit point is really cool. Hard to get
Yeah,
that. And like the generalization of the different races having, they're more general, and everyone was hating about that. The fact that there's no individual things that make them unique. It's like you can make your character look like anything you want. It's in the rules. You can do that. Just the mechanics need to be more specified, and having 1,000 different choices by letting you get a background lets you pick from those choices a lot easier than saying every race of this gets all this stuff.
yeah. I don't know. I think it's just uh for someone like me who like has there's a lot of lore in there. Um, that some of those, races and cultures can be different. Uh, just it makes sense to my mind.
Yeah,
Like we
the
talked about,
lore in
like
your
orcs,
game might be different in the lore in my game.
right? But then I have to also sit here and think about, okay, well, if this is going to be, one D&D, or whatever, and we're going to do this online, does that mean that I will still no longer be able to create some of that custom stuff in Dungeons and Dragons? Like, will an ability score bonus be something that I could give uh, a particular race, or is that something that they're going to say, "Oh, well, we don't do that anymore, so you can't do it"?
Well, if they since they bought D&D Beyond, they that website gives the ability to make homebrew anything, even races. It's hard to make it in D&D Beyond because the interface sucks, but it's
Well,
not
yes,
sponsored.
but
So
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I know I can do it now. The question
will you
is
be able to do it in 2024?
yeah, will I be able to do it in 2024? Or will they say, "Oh, well, that's just kind of a legacy thing. We don't want Dungeons and Dragons to go that direction." Because it's like, I don't know. To my mind, it's like uh, them kind of making a PC, politically correct change, and just saying, well, this stuff that like has made sense since the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons and still technically makes sense, we're just gonna ignore it because this is more inclusive. And it's like, look, I get that. Uh, like I said, I believe in many cases, most races, yeah, probably do not need a bonus. But I think elves they definitely have to come off more lithe and agile. Orcs definitely need to come off more strong. And I'm just kind of curious what they'll do if they're not going to do it in terms of ability score points, then they're going to really have to work it up in the racial abilities. And I
Well,
I I think they're moving in a good direction. I just don't think for certain races they've gone far enough.
what if you want to play a really pudgy elf? Like they let themselves go, like way, they're like 300 pounds. They're not athletic at all. Are they still a lithe elf? Should they have the dexterity bonus and all things, or should they just take the mobile feat and just describe your character differently?
Yeah, no, I guess that's a very good question because then you could argue in that
I've always
case,
been pro on reflavor, reskin the thing that you don't like to fit what you want, because that's what's in like the first 3 pages of the Dungeon Master's Guide already. It's like change it.
yeah,
If you don't like it, use this as a framework, and then with the newer system, it's just like this is a much more robust and defined framework that's easier to move stuff around. Make them evil. I don't care. But here's just how mechanically that's going to work. Their background's a
yeah. I mean,
background, Eric. Just make them do whatever they want. You just want to be able the
nah.
mechanics to be there. With all the constant updates, currently there's like 3 legacy versions of an orc and a half orc. Between the different editions, different books that have come out, and the addendums that have come out to them, there's already a ton of them.
Yeah,
So this is a way
there
of
are a ton.
making a version that you can just kind of customize, mostly through the background feat that you can pick that can modify, make them tough. They
Yeah,
get more hit points.
like I, yeah, like that. Some of that stuff doesn't really bother me because like we'll customize a lot of stuff. Anyway, with our own things. Um, in the campaign now. I guess it just I guess
Your
as
game creator is showing when you're looking at it. It's like I want this to be defined specifically that this should be how it's played.
well, yes. I also like some of that. I think is also just part of me. Yeah, my game creator section where I'm just like it because I think you're right. Like as a game designer, I look at this and go, this is gonna make it a whole lot harder to balance things as a dungeon master because some of the bumpers that were on there are now gone, and so it's like, okay, yes, you have more options, but those options could potentially make my job a lot harder. Uh, and I guess on the other hand, like if I think it would in a certain respect, it would kind of suck if I was the kind of dungeon master that I am. I like more structured narrative and stuff, and I pick up like one D&D as my first edition. It's like, wow, I'm gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting in here to get what I want out of it. So it's not as big a deal for me because I've done this for several editions, and I have kind of a built-in intuition about what the balance is going to be. Um, but I don't know what that's going to be when all the rule changes, and I really hope uh, Wizards does a pretty good job. Because like even the idea that monsters can no longer crit, like I'm like, what?
On to my least favorite part about 1D&D. That monster needs to hit hard and fast and over again. If they crit, F those players. Screw them up. Although they're saying that monsters are going to have like rechargeable abilities that are better that recharge on like natural 20s. Fine. But I would have doubled the dice. So I'm just going to ignore that part. headphones die. Ha ha! We fixed all the technical problems, but we didn't fix the issue of Eric's headset dying. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So.
It sounds way different.
Oh no! Now I can't hear you.
This is the problem with Eric's technology. The comment, when they rebuilt the World Trade Center, it's called One World Trade Center. Coincidence? Yes. No? Maybe. I'm assuming Eric can't hear me based off the confused look on his head. Check out that quilt on the bed, though. That's pretty neat. We're getting close to the end, though. If you don't know, the rules for critting, NPCs and monsters no longer crit on their hits on natural 20s. They just get other abilities that can recharge. There are recharge abilities currently, like Dragon's Breath and other abilities. This should make you use those abilities more. But yeah.
That is something that annoys me, though, because the whole purpose of a critical hit is that you hit someone in like a vital location or a spot that makes the damage especially dangerous. Like, I remember in 3.5 when constructs and undead were immune to critical hits, and I still think they definitely should be in 5th edition.
Unless you have a certain type of adamant.
Well, right, but that's mostly really just damage type stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Like, if I have a rogue character who like does a little shiv backstab and stabs you in between the plates, you should definitely be able to crit on that. Absolutely. And so it's like
interesting thing you say that. They've also changed the rules for critting on attacks. If you crit on a backstab or if you crit as a paladin, you don't get to double the extra dice. You just double the d4 and that's it. You can't 5th level paladin smite for 80 points of damage anymore. You hit just the weapon damage and that's it. Crits are weak. Who knows? Maybe they'll make changes to classes that get the similar ability of recharging if you roll a critical success. Like the fighter action surge might go away from short rest and get like proficiency, or if you crit, you get to recharge it. Who knows? But crits suck now. Also, spell attacks can't crit. So
yes, which that sucks. I have a feeling that is something that will not make it through to the final thing. Because here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is as a dungeon master, whatever the challenge rating, encounter builder, whatever difficulty that says, you have to assume it will actually be easier for your party. I mean, unless they're level 1.
Or one difficulty lower than what it says it is.
Right. Now, if you remove the ability of monsters to crit, that is only going to make the monsters weaker. And while I know they're going to update monsters and give them cool new stuff, again, it goes back to that idea where it is something that has existed since the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons. It's made sense. It still makes sense, and yet you're going to ignore something that still makes sense because you, I guess, don't like the idea that, critting a level 1 or 2 player can drop them. I mean, I don't know. I, as a dungeon master, just go into that thing. If it's level 1, it's like, okay, well, if I roll a natural 20, okay, I'm not going to roll crit damage, but it is an automatic hit, and then I'll phase in crits once you guys get a little more, hit points behind you.
Final question that's come in. Eric, please explain the new edition by comparing it to a Windows operating system. Is the new edition going to be Windows Vista of D&D?
It's hard to say, because you could argue that right now we're like Yeah. I would definitely say fourth edition was definitely a Vista. Um, yeah, so I guess you would probably say fifth edition is more like a Windows 10, and it remains to be seen whether or not this is going to be a Windows 11 or if we're gonna reintroduce some stuff that was part of Windows 8. Like yeah, it's like when they can Windows 8 when they completely redesigned the way Windows works and looks and flows, and everyone was like,
I hate it.
"Why?
This is awful. Well,
Why?"
Eric, time for the final question. Could you do me a favor and roll me a D percentile? It's been a while. Do you know what a D percentile even is?
Yeah, I know. It's here in my box where it always is. That is 56.
56. Your hair falls out, but grows back within 24 hours. Off of the wild magic jar.
Well, I guess I'll just donate it to Locks of Love or something.
Aha. Well, that was a fun conversation. It's been a while since we've done this. We will
It's
be
been a
back
while.
again. Back again next week with another guest that's not Eric. Who knows who that be? Possibly Rab, maybe
Are you sure it won't be me? Because they could all decide at last moment that they're not available, and I'm literally the only one you can bring in.
who knows? Could be Kilmo. Could be just an NPC that just.
Yeah, I went through the effort of putting them on the calendar. So
I got too much shit going on to even think about that. So
yeah,
we can't use our
not
regular schedule because half of the people aren't here, so it skips most of
that's
them.
true. Well, it's true.
But expect us back again next Thursday, and expect us next Tuesday as well, because the campaign will be back, assuming everything doesn't go to hell again. Well, thank you all for coming. I really have to go, and I hope you liked watching my really crappy show. So please like, follow, and subscribe is what I'm supposed to say. And as always, we'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen, guten Tag. Drink poison. Bye-bye.
Walking hand in hand on the ocean floor, down deep we wander. Louder we sing, no there is no cure in this together.